Hey, this is Hans from Request for Music. Hey, this is Hans from Request for Music, and what you're listening to at the moment is Harmonics, a sequence or an arrangement that I created using a new module that I'm making at the moment, which is called Harmonics, and I've got two instances of that running here. So let's have a look at what I'm doing there and what I'm using. So I'll create a new instance or a new patch, and no, I don't need to save, and I'll get my harmonics in there and zoom this up. Okay, so harmonics, what is that? It's a new module that I'm working on, which uses up to 64 oscillators that you can work with in one module to create additive synthesis or FM synthesis or whatever you want, actually. And obviously, you have a pitch input and you have a gate input, so you can use it with a keyboard. So I'll take this out, and you already hear a sound. And so I use the keyboard to drive the pitch, and as soon as I uh, touched a note, you heard that the envelope, while it was waiting for you to do something at the beginning, it was using an envelope for that. And as you can tell, you see that there's an envelope in here, attack, decay, sustain, release, that you can work with for the harmonic that is selected. You already see that one harmonic is selected, and it says select basic and harmonic setting here. And what all of this is that you can choose a number of harmonics to pick from number 0 up to 63. So that's 64 oscillators that you can work with. And here you can actually use some preset where the basic is just the first bass oscillator that you can work with, and otherwise you can, for instance, select all or all even harmonics or the odd harmonics or any of the other choices that you got here, and it might still grow. I'm not quite sure about that. And the last thing is that you can choose a kind of frequency mode or scaling or whatever you could call it, that all of the harmonics that are selected use in the frequency that they normally sound like. Um, this is sort of a global setting, so you also have a global tune, and you've got an output, of course. And here you have the selection of oscillators that are switched on. So if there's no other option to go than just this 0 harmonic that is selected, then you only see that one. And otherwise, if I pick another one with it, so if I do something like this, I can go through all of the harmonics that are selected. So I can hear that, and as soon as I touch the keyboard, you hear that. Yeah, you get an envelope running over all of those harmonics that are switched on, and each of those harmonics can have its own settings. When you think of these settings, that is, you see a coarse, a fine, a phasing, and a pan, sorry, and apart from that, attack, decay, sustain, and release. So, and a level, of course, and there's a switch saying that it's listening to the envelope at this moment. So if I go, yeah, to any of those oscillators, I can actually set all of those settings differently if I wanted to. And so here on the bottom, I've got a selection criterion for all of the harmonics that are switched on. So I've got it at edit current, which means that it's the one that is selected will be changed when edited. And otherwise, I could do something like edit all, or edit even, or odd, or octaves within those harmonics that are switched on anyway. So if I first of all set this to edit all, and I do something like this, and I change the setting for the envelope. So at this moment it's additive synthesis. Yeah, so we get all of those harmonics that I've switched on, and it means that if I don't go into basic but I go into all, that all of those harmonics are switched on. They're not all listening to the proper proper ADSR at the moment, because it only changed the envelopes for the harmonics that were switched on. But since I've got it at it all at the moment, and I'll dial the other things back, you hear all the other sounds. You hear the other sounds as well, and yeah, so it's sort of picking all of those harmonics together. So let's actually get an oscilloscope in here. Just to show you what it does. So let's first go back to the first harmonic, and I'll take one out and dial something in, scale it up, and something like this will do. So I see that I've got just one sine wave, of course, and as soon as I dial the next one to it too, and for the second one I could, for instance, well, let's first dial them up a bit. And if I wanted to change just the number one harmonic, I would go into edit current, and I could, for instance, dial on the phase to change that. I could pan it to one side if I wanted to. I could have it shorter, because it's only dialing the envelope for that one oscillator. So and that way I could go about and just press another one with it, and maybe do some more. Something like that. And yeah, that's pretty neat, I think, already. But apart from that, obviously you have choices like edit the current or edit all. So that means that if I'm going to edit all, I can change all of those at once to dial in other sounds like that, and do the pan for everything and so on if I wanted to, or just change the even ones that are in there. So if I wanted to dial those to another timing, I could do that. Or maybe I wanted to, if let's go to, first of all, let's go to my current and go to the third oscillator. This is an even oscillator, so even harmonic. So let's switch on the add, or the add it even, and you can hear that it only changes part of those. And the same goes for odd or octaves or so on. If I go into, and I can obviously reset such a harmonic here, there's a switch for that. And there are a couple of other switches. Not everything's connected at the moment, but that'll come within a couple of days probably. And still, it will take some more time to really output this and get this on the website. But anyway, I can do that kind of stuff already. But what is nicer is if I look at just a basic oscillator. I'll just take one to start off with, because obviously I can dial in a whole lot of those oscillators if I wanted to, but let's just take one to start off with. And I'll go up a bit. And here on the bottom, I've got a special sort of screen, and this special screen is a modulation patch bay, or what would you call it? And that means that I've got the first number is giving you the number for the modulation route, or whatever you call it, the path that is selected, and obviously nothing is selected at the moment. Here I decide which of those sources, and I get all of the numbers of all of the harmonics that are selected or that are switched on. I will get that in a list here, so only number 0 is selectable at the moment. And I can pick any of the sources that I've got in here. I've got an envelope, a pitch, an output, an envelope output, and so that's the enveloped output, the source that is this is the original output, and this is one that is modified by the envelope. And I've got an LFO, and I've got 16 external inputs that are here on the side that I can use. And I can pick something like the output, for instance, and I can decide which target I want to use, and I can use my target 0 again. So that means that the output of oscillator or harmonic 0 is going to the input of harmonic 0, and I'm going to change the phase of that. And then I've got an add, an update, and a remove button. So if I add this and dial this up, I'll start modulating this first harmonic at the moment. So with reasonably with just one harmonic, I can create sort of an FM kind of sound. It's modulating itself, but I could also take the enveloped output instead. It will not make that much of a difference. It is still selected, this one, so I can still change this, and I can update it once it's done. So that means that I can easily create different kind of sounds. And I've got one LFO inside which only does a sine wave, but if I need more, I can obviously use any of those external inputs to put any values in there. So let's, for instance, take an LFO, because I don't need to think about the source myself at the moment. I can just leave it for what it is. And I'll take the LFO and I'll go to the number 0 target, and I'll use the, let's say that I'm going to do some frequency mod or just vibrato or something like that. So I'm going to change the fine tuning, because the targets that I have for each harmonic are the coarse tuning, the fine tuning, the phase, the attack, decay, sustain, release, the volume, the gate, and the panning. So that means that if I go to my fine tuning and I'll add this to the roots, it's pretty easy to just, no, not the sound that I would normally pick, but anyway, it does it. So and I can still, while it's selected, I can change the depth, something like that. And now, of course, the nice thing comes when I start using multiple harmonics. And since I also have the possibility to, sorry, to mute or to fix oscillators, I could, for instance, take my second harmonic. So I'll look in my modulation routes, and I'll pick my number 1 harmonic, and I'm going to use its envelope output to drive my target 0, and I'll drive the phase again. So I'll add this to the path, and now you can hear that it's actually using this second oscillator, which is and let's set this back to current. So I'll make sure that my number 0 is still working quite long, while my number 1 has a very short drive on that. So and I can go back in my route to change the depth of the phase for my first oops, didn't have the good one. Something like this. So you hear that it's it can be quite complex in the way that you use any harmonic. The harmonics that you can switch on, they follow the sort of scaling that you choose. So it's set at harmonics, so it means that every next harmonic is doubling in frequency. So if I switch number 2 on, which has a different setting for its envelope, and it's not being sort of cross-modulated yet, so this still sounds like a sine wave. But if I actually want it, I have a sine wave selected at the moment. But if I do an edit all, and I'll change everything to a triangle, it will change the sound of all of those waves. And let's dial all of the envelopes together. A saw wave and a square wave. And you still hear the difference because the one oscillator has another kind of impact on the other by phasing or by changing that phase in the routing. So you can really build very complex sounds. So let's go back and I'll reset this. I'll go back to my sine wave for everything, and let's pick something more standard, and I'll take off my routes because I got a clear route thing in here. So I'm back into my sines again. And switch this back to normal. So if everything's okay, all of the selected are the same in the moment. So now let's go into, instead of going to the harmonic, I'm going to change to any of the other settings, like TET8, which I'm only still using my my couple of oscillators that I had selected. Let's go to all. And first of all, go into harmonic and make sure that everything has the same same envelope. So I'll switch this and I'll dial something something like that. And now go to all of those other ones. So this is the TET6, which is actually division per octave. So this has 6 notes per octave, this has 8 notes per octave, a 10 note. And the higher you go, the more difference it, or the more close the notes get. So if I go to something like TET64, it's starting almost to sound like yes, like you have and let's change this to saw wave. It's almost sounding like a unison kind of oscillators, but still, as I said, there's more to this. I've got a half step, and let's go back to my sine wave again to whole steps, major thirds, the golden ratio, and all kinds of other ones that are available, all have an impact on the sort of sound that is created by the system. So if you're up for something special, you get a very different sound already just by changing one of those scales. So like for instance, if you're more into sound design, you could easily pick something like that and just change all of the attack, decay, sustain, release for everything. Where obviously you still have the option to, because this is just the harmonics, there's no routing, no modulation going on there, and maybe it's nice to put some extra effects in there. So let's pick something from my FSyn. So I'll pick my delay, and I'll take the reverb. Where are you? And I'll take the reverb out, and I'll connect this first into my delay, then my delay into my reverb, and then one to the output, and change some of the settings first. So I'll dial these up, and I'll take less echo and less of the reverb, switch both on. So I could do something like this, and obviously it's still going strong like this, and the nice thing is that I could, for instance, take let's see, what shall I do? Let's and as I said, when I've got everything selected, when everything's switched on, then all of those are available within the list of harmonics that I can switch on as a source or as a target. So let's just pick some less than this. So do not select all, but let's select octaves instead. Oops. And if I wanted to see which ones are switched on, I can see that here. So I can take one, and otherwise I could still go through my list of all the ones that are selectable for as a source or as a target. So let's say that I just want to use my LFO to modulate the frequency of, say, number 4 or something, and so I'm going to change the or use the LFO, and I'm going to drive number 4, and I'm going to drive that coarse frequency, and the depth obviously still decides how much it will be. So this is pretty fast. But the nice thing is, I could also take, and maybe I could do it different. But let's let's say that I also want to use the LFO to drive the gate of this fourth oscillator, so I can switch it to that and add it to the path. And I'll need more depth because otherwise it won't drive it. But everything's okay. Then at some point when the speed is, it's now driving the envelope of number 4, and it's starting that automatically, as you can hear. So let's dial this up. And number 4, I'm going to switch that to fix. So it's not going to change the pitch of that anymore from the outside. I'm going to dial this back a bit. And let's also use number 4 and the envelope output of number 4 to drive number 0 phase. So something like this. So and obviously I'm also just using this one LFO, but say that I picked my LFO from my FSIN bundle, and I'm going to use let's say that I'm going to use a square wave, and I'm going to go to the external input number 1, and I'm going to use external input 1 to drive the gate of my oscillator number 0. So I'll dial this up. And then if the speed is high enough, it will, oops, I didn't do the gate, I did the pan instead, so change it. And I could do something like that for number 1 as well. So take the external 2 and take the number 1 and dial that in, drive this into there. And maybe it's nice to drive the phase of oscillator 0 by using this number 1. So let's take the output of number 1 and use its envelope output to drive number 0 on its phase. So and maybe we could use another one to what shall we do? We'll put that into external 3, and I'm going to take external 3 and I'm going to drive number 4, and I'm going to drive the the gate again. So oh, I was already using that. That was stupid. So I'll send it to another one. I'll send it to 8 instead. So I'll update this. And maybe send the output, the envelope output of number 8 into the output of number 8 into number 2 phase. So for sound design or that kind of stuff, there's so much that you could do with the module, and you can actually go through multiple. It looks like a small list at the moment, but you'll see that even if I would just add this to it, the list can grow up to, yeah, I have no idea actually, maybe 1,000 or something like that. I'm not quite sure. I didn't really limit it, but you'll see that the screen itself, the routing screen, is you have the option to go through it, and as soon as one is selected, then its settings are put into these drop down menus, and the depth setting can be changed, and you can actually change or remove any of those. So I'll just remove a couple of those, as you can see. So if I wanted to clear everything out, in the end, finally I get back to my original sine waves, with the only point being that this oscillator I had a cup, because I had it switched to edit all, then all of my fixes were switched on, and I've got some inharmonic oscillators at the moment. So, but there's a whole lot that you could do, and just to give you an idea, you already heard that sort of arrangement that came up with some melody, and the sequencer is just driving one of those harmonics, and the other one is just giving sort of a background sound that's coming up. And in this case, I'm using variations to go, yeah, to really create an arrangement with all kinds of different settings for harmonics and for all of the other stuff that is in there. And I've got my generate module to make the variations switch. As you can tell, I'm not doing anything at the moment. Everything is done in this one patch. So there's a lot that you can do that way. But let's listen to some other stuff. Let's see. Obviously, I changed some stuff at the moment. So let's go for something like this. Because in this case, I've got one harmonics which is just working for the bass, but the other sound is sort of a lead sound, and I'm not sure. I don't think I can zoom in on this area. No, I cannot zoom in anymore. But I've got an envelope setting of oscillator 1 that is changing the pan of that sound. So it means that it's jumping to the side. And my next route is changing the volume of an output, so that can actually be changed to when combined with a phase output or an envelope output, phase to another harmonic or to itself. So the output is then modulated as well. But in this case, I've also used an envelope, for instance, to change the course frequency of my number 0 harmonic. And that's what you hear when you hear the sound going up, changed by the envelope. While the other harmonic, so harmonic 0 was the one that was modulated for its envelope of by an envelopes. And the other harmonic, as you can hear, if I go back to this, is one that comes in later, and you hear it jump to the side because I did modulate the pan. And those together build sort of a lead sound, but you can create whatever you want. So something like that. Don't know if I've got more interesting sounds. Let's see what this was. And if you want more high in this, yeah, you can tell that I've got only those four oscillators switched on. So if I want something higher in there, some higher frequencies, I could easily pick something like this. As you can hear, that is, yeah, higher indeed. And as soon as I press the key, number 12 was listening to its envelope. So if I change that sound in there, and maybe this is not exactly what I want. Maybe I want this to modulate one of the others. So I've got, let's say that I wanted to modulate number. Oh, I've got a couple of those that are switched off, as you can tell. So actually, number 0 was actually doing all of the work because 0 is switched on. There's no muting there, but number 1, 3, 7 were all phase modulating number 0. So I could do the same with number 12, so that it will also change to the harmonics that number 0 is creating at the moment. So if I take my number 12 out and use the envelope out again to drive number 0 phase and add that to it and dial it up. Now I can switch the muting for this one on, but it still will be it will still be there, and then obviously the amount of envelope or what the envelope does will affect how that yeah, complete sound will be like. Well, so that's the state of not of the union, but the state of what harmonics is at the moment. So I hope you enjoyed this, and it will be in stores or in the store within some time. I don't know. It depends on what I will be adding to it and what problems will arise. It will be in um, a separate set actually, together with something called Gator that I'm also have been working on. I've been working on harmonics since I think since 2021, and it has been in a different kind of variations in there. But I'm also working on something that is called Gator, which can create gates at different moments and together and so on. And obviously, by using all those external inputs, it can be pretty interesting to use extra gates in there. So there will be a set combining that harmonics and the gator in there, and I don't know what the price yet will be, but when you have the FSIN bundle, it will be cheaper to get that. Obviously, there will be a discount for people who already have the FSIN bundle, so you can combine that. So that's everything about harmonics at the moment, and I hope to see you later. So cheers, bye, bye.